إلى صراط مستقيم دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome back. So it is time for your questions, and before we begin taking the questions, the topic of generosity, it needs like 4 or 5 more segments. But unfortunately, our values are so many and we have only less than 20 days to cover as much as possible. So inshallah, maybe later on we will devote lectures for it if Allah is willing. A sister asks, Sheikh, the place where I live now for Ramadan, it has imsak, and after 30 minutes it's Fajr. But I see no light, so it is not true Fajr. Should I delay the Fajr an hour later? Now, when it comes to the issue of Fajr, which is the break of dawn, there are so many opinions and views, and rather than give you a fish every day, it's best that you're taught how to fish yourself. Therefore, let us look at some of the ahadith governing this issue. The Prophet tells us in an authentic hadith that there are 2 Fajr. One which is a false Fajr, and it's like the tail of a wolf or a fox, meaning it's vertical. And then comes the true Fajr after a while, which is horizontal and can be seen on the top of the mountains and the hills. It's pitch black. Before Fajr, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, you see this vertical light that comes for few moments and then disappears. This is false Fajr. Then you can see the whiteness, the white thread in the head in the direction of the east, and this is the break of dawn. So it's not necessarily that the whole world glows, so it would be dawn. It can be simply this thread of whiteness in the direction of the east. Then the Prophet says in another hadith, if the night comes from here and the day goes from there, then it is time to break your fast. Likewise, in the opposite, when to refrain from eating and drinking, when the day comes from here and the night goes there, meaning the break of dawn. And also the hadith of Bilal and Ibn Maktoum. The Prophet told us that there are 2 adhan for Fajr. One is done by Bilal, and this does not prevent someone from eating and drinking. It's only a reminder so that those asleep can wake up and have their pre-dawn meal. While Ibn Maktoum's adhan is for Fajr, and everyone has to refrain and they can pray Fajr. From these evidences, and also the verse in the Quran that you must eat and drink until you see the white thread from the black thread, which meaning the break of dawn, we know that as an individual, I can eat and drink until I know it is time for the break of dawn. If I can see that visually, I would not pay any attention neither to the adhan of the masjid nor to the timetable and the calendars. So if I'm living in an open area, in front of me is a desert or the ocean, and I can see it's pitch black, then I can see the white thread, I will refrain. Even if the adhan has been called 10 minutes, a half an hour before, no problem. I can see it visually. The problem is that when you cannot see it visually, so you have to trust and rely. And we have 2 methods of trusting and relying, either on the timetables or on the mu'adhin, the man who calls the adhan in the masjid. As a Muslim, I can trust The person giving the adhan, because he's an individual, a Muslim, and trustworthy. The timetables I have can be trusted, but the problem is my watch may not be accurate. Some reasons here, maybe I did not put the right date for the calendar, etc. Therefore, it's best always to rely on the mu'adhin. However, if I know for certain that the mu'adhin is not reliable, meaning that on the 30th of Sha'ban, the adhan of Fajr was at 5 o'clock. A day later, which is the 1st of Ramadan, he gives the adhan at 4:45. 15 minutes in one single day. Definitely this guy is taking a buffer zone, and I should not pay attention to his call because it's not accurate. I believe that the calendar or the timetable of al-Qura calculation is the most accurate, as I've stated this so many times before, except when it comes to Isha prayer. Isha prayer is wrong. But the other four prayers are, inshallah, according to the correct thing. However, the concept of imsak, this is found in Egypt, in Turkey, in Syria, when there was Syria, in Jordan, in other countries. They usually give 15 or 20 minutes before the actual adhan of Fajr, and they call it imsak. So people refrain from eating, and this is wrong. You eat and drink and do not refrain from anything that is halal until the adhan is called. The time of the adhan, the break of dawn, is the time of refraining from eating and drinking. Abu Safwan from Kuwait.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu wa barakatuh.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Alayna wa alaykum. Barakallah feek.
Okay, Sheikh, can I ask a question about zakat?
Yes, akhi. Raise your voice, please, a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Actually, you see, I have some amount, and say, for example, $100. Of this $25, I spend on some, business, like some property business. Buy an old house, renew it, and then sell it, then share the profit. But so far, I don't have anything return. Okay? So my question is, on this $25 we spend as an investment, do you still have to pay the zakat on that amount, or it is exempted by total calculation? This is my first question. And the second thing, if by mistake, if we have sent some zakat, some charity, organization, later on proof they are fake. So what is the ruling? Do I have to still pay the amount?
You gave the zakat to someone who was not deserving?
Yeah, and I paid some amount, but there is a doubt that it may be not going to the right organization. Maybe it is fake, or maybe it is some fraud. So do I still have to pay that zakat back? I
didn't understand your question. You paid the zakat. Was it miscalculated? Was it less or more than the zakat? Or was the mal...
Great question. It's a great question. First was the zakat about the investment I made. Do I have to calculate that amount in my zakat or not? Second thing is, I give some zakat to a charity organization, but if it later proves fake, do I still have to pay that amount of zakat again?
Okay, I will answer inshallah.
Third thing, third Sheikh, I have your number. I tried call. I don't know if it is still valid. I need to talk to you. This is urgent. I need your number.
The Kuwaiti number is not valid, definitely, but the Saudi number is still accurate. You can give me a call, inshallah, whenever you wish. Barakallah feek. Asif from India. Salamtullah.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have two questions.
Yes.
The first question is regarding, there are many dawah groups and they are doing really good work. So can we give them zakat or only sadaqah will be fine? For example, IERA, from Mr. Fahim Green, they are doing amazing work. So zakat can be given for that purpose?
What is the nature of their work?
They give dawah to non-Muslims, and they give English translation of Quran and lectures about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay.
General, most of the time to non-Muslims, sometimes maybe to Muslims also.
And second question?
And second question is regarding, actually I'm aware of the answer, but mashallah, to give a perfect answer, this question is, regarding one of my colleagues. Actually, since we are from India and people have a tradition that by prayer they assume complete. For example, in Isha, most of the people assume that 17 rakah is the total prayer. If you miss even 2 nafal rakah, your prayer is not complete. So the question is, for example, in Ramadan, we are starting with Imam first. Then we finish our 2 prayers, 2 rakah sunnah. Then we do 8 rakah for Taraweeh and 3 rakah for Witr. Then again, this friend of mine, he starts and finishes nafil prayer. And people say, what is it's not needed. You are done for the day. If you want, you can do it at night. But he is not convinced. He told us 17 is the Kamil and I have missed nafil and all. I have to complete, otherwise my Isha prayer will not be complete. So how to respond for this?
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah fi. Hayyakallah. Abu Safwan from Kuwait, he had a question about investments, and he invested money in a project where he buys real estate property, renovate, fix and sell. And he goes on doing this. Definitely this is zakatable. He has to pay zakat for this money invested. And the way he calculates it is that on the completion of a lunar year from the beginning of this investment, he assesses the value, estimates the value of the actual project as it is now, if it were to be sold, and then give 2.5% over that. Now, he says that he doesn't have cash at the moment. Well, this is a debt to Allah Azza wa Jal. So whether you don't have it now or you will have it later, it's a debt. You must pay it. And Allah will hold you accountable to it. Should I borrow? If you want, yes, you can borrow money and pay your zakat until this project is over and you sell it or you can get some cash out of it. His second question was, if I understand it correctly, about giving zakat money to a charity organization. And later on, we discovered that this is a fraud organization. So there is this organization, I give them 1,000 euros, hoping that they distribute it in zakat. And later on, I discovered that they were crooks. Should I consider it done? The answer is no. This is a debt to Allah Azza wa Jal. So giving it to someone who's not deserving is different than giving it to a bogus organization to distribute it. So for example, if I give 1,000 euros to my brother and I tell him to distribute it, and he's trustworthy, but he dies, and the money is within him or with him, or the money is burnt away, it's destroyed out of an act of nature, out of his control. So he comes to me and said, I'm sorry, the money is gone. I forgive him because he was doing me a favor, but I still have to pay 1,000 of zakat to the needy. And likewise in the issue of this corrupt organization, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Asif says, can we give zakat to da'wah organizations? It's an issue of dispute. Some scholars like Sheikh Ibn Jibreen says that the essence of jihad is, which is the 8th category of recipients of zakat mentioned in Ayah 60, chapter 9, Surah At-Tawbah. Number 8 is fi sabilillah. So Sheikh Ibn Jibreen and others say that the best form of jihad is giving da'wah, is calling people to Islam, is explaining to them the nature of our beautiful religion, and hence it is permissible to give them from zakat. Some scholars restrict this 8th category for fighting in the cause of Allah, and this is what I'm more comfortable with. But as I said, there are notable, trustworthy scholars who said that it is permissible, and Allah knows best. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah we'll be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. And this is what I'm more comfortable with. But as I said, there are notable, trustworthy scholars who said that it is permissible, and Allah knows best. Asif Bai says that there is this concept in the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, that Isha is composed of 13 rak'ah. If you miss one of them, the whole package deal is gone and your prayer is invalid. And definitely this is totally baseless. And this is why we go out of our way. We strive hard to educate Muslims. Don't take your religion from Tom, Dick, and Harry. Take it from the Quran and the Sunnah. Whoever said that if you don't pray the Sunnah or the Nafila or the Witr, your Isha is invalid? Only imbeciles, ignorant people. Subhanallah, the authentic hadith tells us that the pillars of Islam are 5. Among them is establishing Salah. And Salat, by the consensus of scholars, is the 5 daily prayers, and that's it. In the nomad who came to the Prophet asking him about Islam, and the Prophet told him to pray 5 times a day. He said, nothing else? And the Prophet said, nothing else unless you want to perform voluntary deeds. So the man said, by Allah who sent you to us, I will not add anything, meaning I will only pray the 5 daily prayers, among the other things. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, أَفْلَحَ وَأَبِيهِ إِن صَدَقَ. By Allah, he has succeeded, and he is among the people of Jannah. Never ever the Prophet told them or told us that we have to pray the 2 rak'ah ratibah, and then the 2 rak'ah nafila, and then the I don't know what else, and then the 3 rak'ahs of witr, shaf' and witr. All of this is baseless to be a condition in accepting your prayer. You pray 4 rak'ah, Isha, that's it. You go home. Am I sinful? Nope. You've lost some reward for not praying the ratibah, which is 2 rak'ah. You've lost some reward for not praying the tarawih. But to say that it is 13 rak'ah, this is a total innovation. And it's not part of Islam at all. Arus says, I took a heavy suhoor. Now, this happens with a lot of us. Not only you, Arus. A lot of the Muslims eat and drink before the break of dawn as if they are going to a famine-struck area. They eat so much, they drink gallons of water. What are you doing? So I don't feel thirsty. This would not help you that much. And even if you just took a glass, that would have sufficed, and the same amount of thirst is going to be there. But people are greedy. They just want to eat and eat and eat and drink. So now when they go to Fajr and they bow or prostrate, they get all the food and drink coming out. So he says that I feel that a morsel or so wants to come out to my mouth, to my throat, and I suppress it. But what happens if I get some of it and the taste of it in my mouth? Does this void my fasting? The answer is it does not void your fasting, but be realistic and try your level best not to go into extreme by overeating. Aqil says, suppose the Imam, okay, Aqil's question is about a masjid where they have Taraweeh, and in the last 10 nights they have Tahajjud later on. So he says that in Taraweeh we pray like 20 rak'ahs or 8 rak'ahs, either one. And then the Imam goes back, and the Mu'adhin or his deputy comes in and he prays 3 rak'ahs witr. However, after 3-4 hours at night, the Imam comes back again and leads us in prayer and then prays witr. First of all, what the Imam and his deputy are doing is totally wrong, because it is not permissible to perform 2 witr at the same night. And by the Mu'adhin or his deputy leading the congregation and offering witr, this should mean that this prayer is over. Because it is not the masjid of the imam. It is the masjid of the person who's leading it. So for example, in the haram, we have 3 or 4 imams leading night prayer. Each one of them, or all of them, are considered to be one. And this is why we offer witr at the very end with the last one, though 3 preceded him. Therefore, what's being done is wrong. What to do as an individual, I would highly recommend that you pray with the mu'adhin, the 3 rak'ah witr. When he offers salam, you stand up and pray an additional rak'ah. So now the total is even numbers, and then you pray witr with the imam at the end of the night. Shazia says, we live in Canada, but can we give our fitrana, I think she is referring to Zakat al-Fitr, to Pakistan? The answer is yes. You can relocate your Zakat al-Fitr in Pakistan, but it has to be given before the Eid prayer in Canada. So you give it on the 27th, 28th, 29th. Giving it after the Eid prayer in your country, that would not suffice. Fiyad says there's a hadith that indicates dawn. And I've spoken about the true dawn and the false dawn, so I hope this answered his question. Rahat says, if we have a spit coming out of our lips, that is in the mouth and also on the lips, if we swallow this, will that fast be invalid? If you're referring to your saliva, no, swallowing your saliva is okay, even if you wet your lips and you swallow that, there is nothing wrong in it, inshallah. Imran says, how to perform ghusl? His concern is that to perform madmada and istinshaq wa istinthar, to turn the water in the mouth and to rinse your nose, this is problematic for him because he's fasting, and there's no problem in that. In the hadith of Laqit ibn Sabra, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet ordered him to exaggerate turning the water in the mouth to clean it, to cleanse it, and in rinsing your nose and pulling the water up your nostrils with breathing and then blowing your nose. The Prophet told him to exaggerate unless you're fasting. So when you're fasting, you do not exaggerate, but you do it slightly, and there's no problem in that. Muhammad says, how to get the sweetness of Taraweeh in recitation if it is done at 10 times the speed we usually read. This is problematic. We referred to that on a couple of days ago with these Ferrari imams who read it so fast and so quick that you cannot find the beauty of the Quran. And I've stated that it's a shame, but in order to make it feasible for me to gain the reward of praying the whole night, I am obliged to follow the imam. But after he finishes and concludes his Taraweeh prayer, there is no problem in me going back home, opening the Quran and reciting beautifully and nicely and slowly, so that I would face and find the taste of my prayer. And Allah knows best. A sister says she's married and she's asking about being intimate with her husband. If she kisses his hand or cheek and she finds a taste, well, if your husband is covered in chocolate, definitely this breaks your fasting. But if you kiss someone's hand and you find a taste to that, this is nothing. It has no impact because there is no mass, nothing actual to find the taste of, and the taste itself does not break your fasting. And finally, Hajira says that, can I offer Taraweeh at home alone and recite from my phone? The answer is definitely yes. You can pray Taraweeh on your own at home as a female, and this is better and best for you than praying in the masjid. And you can use your mobile phone, you can use the Quran itself and recite as many as you wish, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have. Until we meet same time.
إنني هداني ربي إلى صراط مستقيم دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما